I can see people checking out, that when we talk about the environment or climate change, I can see people's eyes glazing over. I know that we are overrun with a lot of headlines talking
Mhm.
about climate disaster and that people are feeling overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. And so I wanted to show them that the story of nature and our relationship with nature is not just tragedy. It is one of joy and hope and inspiration and tragedy and humor and absurdity. It is all of the emotions.
Hello and welcome back to the We Need to Act, your go-to podcast for sustainability education. If you are new here, I'm Sarah, an academic and sustainability professional passionate about unpacking complex social and environmental challenges and turning them into clear, informed action. Each episode, I sit down with inspiring guests from around the world to explore the systems, stories, and solutions shaping our future. Our guest today is Natalie Kyriacou. Natalie is an award-winning environmentalist, presenter, and charity director dedicated to sparking curiosity about the natural world. She's the author of Nature's Last Dance, a Medal of the Order of Australia recipient, and a former UN Young Champion of Earth finalist. Natalie is the founder of My Green World, a national ambassador for the Australia Conservation Foundation, and a global voice for biodiversity and conservation. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us on the We Need Act podcast. It is a great honor to have you with us. And to start our conversation, who is Natalie and how did your journey from journalism to environmental advocacy begin?
So I guess I'm just well, Natalie is I guess I'm a nature lover. I'm somebody that is just very, very curious about the world and would like to live in a way that makes a small, or maybe big, positive difference in the world. And so I started my journey as a journalist, studying journalism, and then I did my master's in international relations. And I wanted to work at BBC. I wanted to be a reporter reporting on human rights and environmental abuses. But while I was at university, I spent some time traveling and volunteering with wildlife conservation organizations and writing about the plight of various endangered species. So while I was doing my master's, I started my own passion project, which was a wildlife environmental charity that I built this mobile game application that allowed kids to participate in virtual wildlife conservation scenarios. And that became more popular than I expected. And I think that was what kickstarted my career as an environmentalist. Once I had this passion project going, there was no turning back, really. I felt like I was on a mission, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life working as an environmentalist.
Oh, that's great. And were you already close to nature before that happened?
I was. I've spoken about this with my family a lot because
Mm.
it's funny. Most of family, my parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, they weren't environmentalists, though they all had great values, just loving, wonderful, kind people. But my sister and I are both environmentalists. My sister's a marine biologist and my cousin is as well. Yeah, it's interesting how almost all the grandchildren have been interested in human rights and environmentalism. As a child, I spent a lot of time outdoors. My parents used to take me camping every second weekend. If I wasn't outside, then I was in the library or inside with a book. There was nothing else. It was outdoors with nature, running around with frogs or in the mud, or I was devouring books.
That's really inspiring. So you grew up being close to nature, and also that led you to that relationship with nature. I'm guessing led you to write this amazing book called Nature's Last Dance. And it's not a traditional climate change book. Well, and it is filled with powerful and inspiring stories of life, survival, and loss. And what inspired you to write this book? And what does the title represent for you? Is it a wake-up call?
I was inspired to write this book because I felt like there's not many books out there that are focused on nature that can
Mhm,
appeal to mainstream audience. I
mhm.
wanted to reach people that wouldn't traditionally pick up a nature book. So I wanted to write this book in a way that was really accessible and engaging and quirky. But I wanted to tell the whole story of humanity's relationship with nature. It's not just a nature book. This is the story of humanity, of how we have shaped nature and how nature has shaped us. So this is a book about politics and culture and power dynamics and healthcare systems and economics. So it is it's a big sweeping book that I wanted to write because I wanted to help people fall in love with nature, and I wanted them to better understand how nature has shaped our lives and how we wouldn't exist without it. But I guess most of all, I wrote it at that particular time because I can see people checking out, that when we talk about the environment or climate change, I can see people's eyes glazing over. I know that we are overrun with a lot of headlines talking
Mhm.
about climate disaster, and that people are feeling overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. And so I wanted to show them that the story of nature and our relationship with nature is not just tragedy. It is one of joy and hope and inspiration and tragedy and humor and absurdity. It is all of the emotions. And so this book tries to reflect that. And the title reflects that as well. It's Nature's Last Dance, Tales of Wonder in an Age of Extinction. So it is a bittersweet title. It is shying away from the challenges that we face, that what on the current trajectory we are decimating wildlife, but there is hope, there is joy, and there is wonder. And this isn't the end, but I hope that it is a wake up call for humanity.
That's right. And I also feel that lack of hope in people in general. As you said before, the books that exist are too technical. And sometimes it is really difficult to reach to common people that don't have the same understanding and don't have the same knowledge regarding, sustainability or environment. So they really need something to hold on to. And those inspiring stories that you mentioned, can you share one in particular that is most dear to you?
Oh, there's so many. It's like choosing a favorite child. I mean, there's really quirky stories. So I mean, there's a story about how I talk about bonobos, the great apes. They rub their clitorises together as a form of bonding, and that has meant that the female bonobos can overthrow any males who are showing aggression. And as a result, bonobos have more peaceful societies than, say, chimpanzees. And so it's looking at female-led societies and how we learn from females. So that's what I like that one because it's quite quirky. But the most joyful experience in writing my book was I interviewed a 12-year-old girl, and her name was Gracie, and she is a forest defender, and she's also a citizen scientist, and she volunteers for the Bob Brown Foundation based in Tasmania in Australia, and she takes adults through the forest and teaches them about it and shows them why it's so important to protect. And she made a promise to an owl, a Tasmanian masked owl. They're a critically endangered owl in Australia. And she met one, and she made a promise that she was going to protect it. And so now she's dedicating her life to protecting owls. And that interview was really special for me. I got so emotional interviewing her because she's just such a beautiful person that has, at such a young age, has dedicated her whole life to protecting nature. And her mum was in the interview as well. And her mum just sat back and just supports her, just doesn't intervene, is just there to make sure that she's safe and looked after, but supports her dreams of protecting nature. And I think meeting people like that was really special for me. And to be able to share her story in the book was pretty amazing.
Well, it's really inspiring seeing young people doing. They are the future, and the lack of our actions will impact their future, and they are really leading the way. Do you think that we still have hope for us because we have grown so apart from nature the past 200 years? And do you think we can go back to embrace, to be, to have this sense of awe that we once had?
Yeah. Yes, I do, because I know that I think that, I mean, for me, the majority of the people that I work with, and I might be in my bubble, but the majority of people that I work with and talk to on a day-to-day basis, and the people in my community, they care. They are fundamentally good people that care about the world. I don't know if it's the same for you, but they are people that care about their families and their children, and they want a healthy environment, and they want an economy that works for people, want political systems that are more honest and have more integrity. they like nature. They like the ocean. They like the forests. So that's the majority of people that I talk to. So I think that people are fundamentally good. And I think there are many, many stories of incredible people coming together to achieve really wonderful things for the planet. And we don't hear those stories enough. But that's not to say there aren't challenges. I think right now we're in a really scary time. And I do think that we are seeing story after story of the world's most powerful people, mostly world's most powerful men at the moment, who are making decisions that are detrimental to people and planet. And I think a lot of this stems from the economy. I think we need to change the way the economy works, because right now it incentivizes harm. It incentivizes all of the worst behaviors in humanity. It incentivizes extraction and limitless growth. And it positions us as needing infinite resources, which we do not have. And so I would like to see more conversation around how can we change this global incentive structure? Can we have an economy that actually factors in human health and well-being and environmental health? And so I do think, for me, it's really nonsensical that we have an economy that doesn't factor in health, for example, that actually makes more money off human beings being sick and the environment being sick. That makes no sense to me. So I do think that if we can manage the Herculean task of rethinking our economic model that powers the world, then that would be a very significant start to changing our relationship with nature.
The $1,000,000 question is that, can we really do that? Because all this economic model also puts us above nature, not in this interconnectedness that we live in. So it is really
Yeah.
deep.
I hope so. I hope so. We're starting to see the rights of nature movement and legal movements. These things take time, but I mean, I'm not ready to give up yet. And while there's still, I mean, I can still look outside and see an incredible ocean, and I can still experience nature. I still see trees. I still have clean air that I'm able to breathe. Not everybody has that, I understand. But while I still have those things, and while there's still young people that are protesting, then I'm not giving up.
Me neither. And do you think it is connected to, you mentioned this male dominance, do you think it is connected to that? Do you think if we go back to a more feminine society with grounded in caring values, do you think it would change?
Yeah, I think there are societal fractures and division, and I don't know if it's necessarily about feminine or masculine qualities, but I don't think that I don't think that masculinity should be about violence and
Mhm.
subjugation. And I think we are seeing that more and more. And I think that is harming young men and boys as well. I think they're feeling quite isolated. I think that we are seeing young men are seeing their role models at the moment. They are seeing these examples of masculinity that I think are really toxic. And I think the world would do better to see better role models, men and women, who encourage kindness and empathy, and whether or not they're feminine qualities. I'm probably not one to say on that, but certainly I think we need to see better behaviors modeled in society. I do find this sort of manosphere, hyper masculinity very, very scary and very damaging to men and women and boys and girls. And I also see decisions made by the world's most powerful people as just psychopathic, to be honest. At the moment, I don't understand the support for some of these people, because I don't think that they care about anybody but themselves, and that worries me. I hope we can have a more empathy, and whether or not people agree with me, I feel like one thing we could hopefully all agree on is that we can all afford to be kinder and more empathetic. And that's what I would like to see in society.
Yes, and find balance. And as you said in a past article, we are living in the Anthropocene, the age of human dominance, where both land and sea bear the scars of our actions. And we talked already about that. Can we still reverse this damage? What actions would you highlight, or if you could give some steps for us
Yeah.
to reconnect
Yeah.
with nature?
Yeah, we absolutely can. And we might not necessarily be able to reverse damage in a way where we go back to exactly how things were, but nature is resilient. Nature will exist with or without us. nature will be around long after humanity is gone. So it has a way of coming back. I think it needs a few things. We need to stop this relentless onslaught of destruction of the environment and give nature time to heal. And we see examples of ecosystems that have flourished once humans have left. And I mean, Chernobyl is a good example of that. There was literally a nuclear disaster, but nature managed to thrive after the nuclear disaster because humans had left. And so, and it came back differently, but it did come back. And so that is an example of how resilient nature is. And a few things that we can do. And I think there's one of the very first steps is so simple. It is just simply going outside and looking up, and seeing the joys of the world around you. I think we're all a little bit addicted to our screens, or most people are, especially young people. But looking up and experiencing the world around you is really, really important. And that's why, I mean, in the final chapter of my book, I tell some quirky stories about bird watchers, because I do think that we're seeing this rise in bird watching around the world. And for me, that's a really positive thing, because it is showing us how people are going outside and looking up. They're stepping away from their phones, and it's the simple act just watching or witnessing the world around you and witnessing nature, and falling in love with birds and with their ecosystems. And that's really powerful. So as a first step, going outside and looking up. As a second step, perhaps that means becoming a bird watcher or a citizen scientist. And then there are a range of other steps. And I have a list in my book of actions that people can take to get more involved. And there's a whole bunch. There's one, political advocacy; two, grassroots environmentalism and movements; three, changing economic structures; four would be community mobilization and citizen science. There's studies, there's working towards more transparent media, supporting independent media organizations and holding mainstream media to account, being able to identify misinformation and disinformation. All of these things are connected. And so we do need to take a pretty wide-ranging, if we want to protect nature, we need to take a really wide-ranging approach and consider not just on-the-ground regeneration works and supporting charities, but also questioning political systems, education systems, economic systems, because all of these things work together to either protect or destroy nature.
That's right. To highlighted a really important point, which is education. And you are doing that also with your foundation. Is it foundation?
Yeah,
NGO.
yes. Yeah. I'm really passionate about inspiring curiosity. I started my charity about 13 years ago now, because I want to be able to create fun and engaging learning programs for young people. But we used to work with young people to create these education programs. So it was wildlife and environmental education for kids and by kids. And so I like seeing young people taking a leadership role in environmental issues. And I think that's what we're seeing today. Lots of young people who are leading environmentalists, and we've got a lot to learn from them. But I do, my whole life, I think communication and storytelling and education is really, really important. So I'm very passionate about telling stories and sharing information in fun and engaging ways to help more people fall in love with nature.
That's great. And what do you think it needs to change in the traditional educational system?
I mean, there's quite a lot of things. One is that, I mean, teachers face enormous challenges. So I think you would need to see greater support for teachers to actually embed, any sort of environmental curriculum. But we have some great examples in Western Australia. There are forest schools, and they're schools where they have basically, the kids have built urban forests at school. And it's a really wonderful learning experiment, because they are building their own biodiverse forest, but it's also meaning that the kids are spending more time outdoors, away from technology, but it's a lesson in science as well. And so, it's got a whole bunch of, health and well-being benefits. So I like the idea of seeing more forest schools, more time outdoors. I really think that we're seeing young people spending a lot of time inside and a lot of time on screens. We know that's really harmful. And so I do think we need to be encouraging kids to spend a lot more time outside, and that includes at school. And I think the same for adults as well, even just spending time on screens so often, on computers in meetings. If we can change our meeting structures, change the way we do schooling to just spending more time outdoors.
That's true. And there are some researchers that even have identified that like the time that we spend indoors is connected to our lack of attention and hyperactivity. We are seeing so many young people being identified as hyperactive and being medicated.
Yeah. Nature is often the solution to not to all of these problems, but to a lot
Uh-huh.
of these issues. That's why people, I mean, you've got doctors that are prescribing time in nature, and
Right.
because it is healing.
Yeah, because our ancestors used to spend a lot of time in nature and climbing trees and well, going around, and we really need that. And can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about what you do in the my green world?
Yeah, I do a little bit of a mix. So, the charity that I started years ago, stepping back from that a little bit, but that essentially had two main programs. One was a mobile game app, and that was called
Mhm.
World of the Wild, and kids could download it and build their own world. So they could clean up oil spills, rescue wildlife. They could compete with each other in educational pop quizzes and learn about the most endangered species in the world, and each action that they took in the app represented a real life charity. So kids could rescue Miko the orangutan. And Miko the orangutan was a real orangutan that lived in Borneo and represent Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation. And so it was a way for kids to become virtual conservationists. But this
Mhm.
app supported education, it supported these charities around the world. And so and it was fun and interactive. And so that was one arm of the charity. And then the other arm was an online classroom, and so it had learning materials, curriculum aligned learning materials for grade 4 up to year 10. And it covered a whole range of about 60 different topics related to wildlife and the environment. And they were for students, teachers, and parents. And so there was lots of fun activities, ways of learning about different environmental topics and species. So yeah, it was a really fun charity who had a very which had a really positive mission. And more recently, I work with the Foundation for National Parks and Wildlife as the director there, and I'm also an ambassador for Australian Conservation Foundation. And they all play different roles. Australian Conservation Foundation is very much around pushing for policy change in Australia. Foundation for National Parks and Wildlife is creating more protected land in Australia, and regenerating land, protecting species. So yeah, it's a whole. I like to be involved in a whole mix of work where you can do on the ground regeneration, but also policy and education and shifting systems. So yeah, I'm very lucky to work with such wonderful organizations.
And you have done so many things. You have accomplished so much in your career. What's next for you? What looking ahead?
Oh, next will be my book, Nature's Last
Okay.
Dance, being released in the UK. So that will be quite exciting. But I think more storytelling. I think right now we're seeing a bit of a regression of a lot of the environmental progress that we made, even the progress that we've made in human rights, and so I think there's a lot more work over the next couple of years in trying to tell stories and communicate with wide variety of people who might think differently to me. So I need to spend more time thinking about how I can reach people that might disagree with me, or how I can reach people that might not be advocating for nature just yet, and how I can encourage them to get more involved and protect nature.
That's right. And I'm also in that field of communication, and we have really a hard task at hand. So yes. And how do
Yeah,
you
so
see
if you've
the
got
role
any
then?
ideas, let me know.
Well, I'm a researcher at the university, and it's quite difficult, but I'm inspired by indigenous narratives.
Yeah.
The connection in terms of discourse, the connection between human beings and nature lies on going back and talking a lot with indigenous people from around the world. And how do you
Yeah.
see the role of artificial intelligence in? this challenge of communicating, because in a way it can help us, but there is this other side that is spreading misinformation everywhere.
Yeah, I for a while I was on board with it, thinking, there's a lot of positives to this. It is out of control. I just think that people that are running AI, that own these AI companies, I do not think they have I don't think they care about humans. I don't think they care about communities. I don't think they care about the planet. And they have access now to all of our data, and they're controlling the information ecosystem around the world. And I think AI is out of control. We are seeing AI slop. We're seeing news articles written with AI, that people getting their information from really biased AI programs like Grok, which are denying climate science and undressing women and doing all of the most horrific things. And I do think that, we talk about AI as in terms of using a lot of water and being a strain on the environment. I actually don't think that's even the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is that AI will amplify everything. It will amplify our existing destructive relationship with nature. So that means faster fossil fuel exploration. You can extract more and you can extract faster. It puts everything that we are currently doing, it puts it on steroids, and it means it can happen at a much faster pace and with a much bigger impact. And that's what really scares me about AI. So maybe you caught me on a bad day, but I am in the firm AI is not good for humanity right now. And I have serious concerns about it. And we are letting it go unchecked, and we are sort of accepting this as our fate. And we could stop it if we wanted. I don't think it is offering much benefit to humanity. I think sometimes we fail to, I don't know why we don't spend more time asking questions. Do we actually need this, and why are we doing this? And is this of any benefit to the planet or its people? And I think a lot of the decisions that we make in this world are not. And so, that aggrieves me.
I'm
What
aligned
do you
with you.
think?
I'm
Yeah.
aligned. But I don't think we can revert the situation, because there's a lot of lobbies.
Yeah. Money.
I mean, right now, what I think is that, can we use it for good? Is it possible? Of course, we need to push for more regulation, because it really, we really need that. It cannot go unsupervised, and this will have a huge impact on human beings, of course, also on nature. But it is a tool, and we should start thinking how to use it for good in a way that can fight back the people that are using it for bad.
Yeah. And I still think that comes back to the economy, because unless we change the underlying incentive structures, then we're going to continue to have the world's most successful companies are going to be built on exploitation and extraction and offer harm to humanity. And that's why I do think the economy is fundamentally incompatible with human needs. We are seeing that play out with pharmaceutical companies, with health insurance companies, with AI companies, with fossil fuel companies, with tobacco companies, all of these, all of the industries and companies in the world, they are successful by the metrics of GDP, by our current economy. Yeah, we aren't going to be they're not doing anything wrong. They are abiding by the rules of the economy. And so that's why I think, for me at the moment, it's just always coming back to the economy.
Yeah, we need to find out how to build an economy for good, that is good for people and the planet. So, is it degrowth? Is it growth? But
I like degrowth. I just think it needs a better marketing team behind it, because degrowth is not a good name. People don't like the name degrowth. They think, oh, that means I'm going to be poor.
Yes, but the basis of this degrowth theory is really valid. So I think, yes,
brilliant.
you're right.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and I don't think the name is representative of what it is. But I think, a bit of a rebrand. I would be in favor of. I support the degrowth movement, just with a bit of a name change.
Yeah, you are right. Me too. And this has been a really interesting, insightful conversation. And my last question for you is: Do you have anything that you would like to share with our listeners? A final message, call to action?
Yeah, I think the call to action, I think, would be, I mean, a couple of things. One, I would love if people could buy or support my book, Nature's Last Dance. I hope they enjoy it. I think it's a really good book. It's my whole brain and my whole heart. True. I think we need to get back to our roots a little bit, spend more time with community, talk to our neighbors, smile at strangers, build longer tables, not higher fences, spend more time outdoors, experiencing the real world with other people, showing kindness and empathy. I think we need to practice those things. We need to practice community and kindness where we're not seeing enough of it, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, I've loved that we ended this conversation with community and kindness. That's really
Yeah.
two strong words. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome.
That's it for today's episode. If you enjoy the conversation, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your network. Your support helps us grow this community, spark meaningful dialogue, and bring you more inspiring guests and valuable content. Let's act together for a better now.